Hi, how are you? Greetings from Claretian Word Ministry. Today, I want to share with you something very special, and I am sure you will love it. We use languages for a clear communication. There are many languages in the world. Learning all languages is really hard. When I travel to different places, I find it very difficult to communicate when I reach to a place where I do not know the local language of the people. People may look at us differently, or sometimes we get humiliated. This is all because of the one reason that we don't know their language. You also might have experienced the same. Then, I used to think in this way. If there had only one language in the world, it would be so nice. So, we can get rid a lot of difficulties if we know the language. On the day of Pentecost, the people gathered in Jerusalem understood in their own languages what the apostles were talking. It was the work of God. God understands us in our own languages. Whether you speak to God in English, Hindi or in any other language, God understands you. Because He knows the thoughts of your heart. And you also understand what God is speaking to you in your own language. Therefore, God knows your language, and you also know the language of God. And that language is the language of heaven, and the language of heaven is love. Jesus tells us that we should learn this language of heaven to enter heaven. Jesus says to us that we might have heard this saying in the language of the world, love your neighbor and do not do good to your enemy. But I tell you in the language of heaven, love your enemies, and pray for those who persecute you, so that you may be children of your Father in heaven. The children learn by themselves the language of their parents. Normally, if the parents are English-speaking persons, then their baby do not speak Chinese. The child also learns to speak English. The language of our Father in heaven is love. Therefore, if we are His children, then we will speak everything through His language. That is, the language of heaven, and that language is love. And, further, if we are the children of our Father in heaven, then we will not have enemies in our lives. We do not choose our parents, brothers and sisters and neighbors in our lives. But it is God who gave them as our parents, brothers and sisters, and neighbors. And they are in our lives by the will of God. Therefore, God places each individual in our lives to teach us a lesson. So, I would say that if we are the children of our Father in heaven, then we will not have enemies in our lives. Dear friend of Jesus, if your father, mother, brother or sister, or your neighbor is angry with you, you should not hate them, and you should not get disappointed by them. It is God who placed them in your lives. And God does everything for your good. God speaks through the prophet Jeremiah, for surely I know the plans I have for you, plans for your welfare, and not for harm, to give you a future with hope. Therefore, if you have faith in God, then you will not have any enemies in your lives. God places certain persons in your lives to mold you, and to teach you certain lessons, the lessons of love, sacrifice and humility. Let us pray. Lord, teach us the language of heaven, that we may excel in this language. And we believe that it is by learning this language of heaven that we become perfect as you are. Amen.